Hi everybody, and welcome to the machine. Welcome to www.realestateinvestormachine, your home of REI-TV. Online, that is. I'm your host, Nick Sifoni, and today is Newbie Tuesday. It's when we talk about, when we help the newbies. We help the new investors, the guys that are just getting started. I remember when I was first getting going in the business, I was like a sponge. Give me all the help I can get. I went to all the meetings I could find. I think I picked people's brains till they were ready to send me off, and we're happy here to help you. So today on Newbie Tuesday, we're going to talk about different types of deals, different techniques you can use to flip houses, different strategies. Some people use one, others use a lot. Like in our business, we do all types of deals. We don't do too much bird dogging, but we do wholesale deals, we do retail flips, we do sub-2 deals, we do lease options, we buy and hold, we do all different types of things. When you're first getting started though, I highly suggest that you pick one technique and you stick with it. Become a bird dog, become a wholesaler, whatever it might be. Stick with it till you get good at it, then move to the next thing. And you're going to be tempted not to. You're going to have deals come across your desk. Like now, in the past, I've been tempted many times to just do wholesaling. I'm going to be a wholesaler. And then, dang it if the next lead I get in isn't a perfect sub-2 deal or a perfect buy and hold or something like that. But in any case, we're going to start off with bird dogging. Some investors, that's all they do. They become a bird dog. And a bird dog, another word for a bird dog is a house scout. And bird dogs find properties for other investors. They, some of them aren't full-time investors. Some of them have other jobs that they have no intention of leaving. And their whole goal is just as they're working, they look for houses for sale as they're driving up and down the streets. Perfect bird dogs. Pizza delivery men. Gas guys, they read gas meters on houses. UPS drivers. Mailmen are perfect because they always know what's for sale, what's vacant, when people are coming and going. So even when you get beyond that stage in your business, you might want to think about getting to know those type of people and maybe throwing them a little something, throw them a bone if they find you a deal. But a good place to start is bird dogging. Zero risk as a bird dog. All you have to do is find the house for sale, get the phone number. Some investors don't even need the name of the owner. They'll do all that research. We ask our bird dogs. We have bird dogs mostly in this area, but we have some. We have them in Dallas. We have them all over the country. Typically, though, you're going to get the phone number, the address, pictures of the house, and the seller's name and the selling price, and any other backstory you can, and you're going to pass that on to another investor. That's why it's called a bird dog. Just like when you go hunting, they have their bird dog, the bird dog goes out and flushes out the birds, the bird flies up and you shoot them down. And that's what you're doing as a bird dog in investing. You're flushing the deals out of the woods for the investor to come in and buy. Now, bird dogs don't make a lot of money, but they make good money. Let me try to show you. My first deal, I was a bird dog. I don't make copies of all my checks anymore. I used to, because when you go to different seminars, you always see the guy showing the checks. But hold on a second. I got a lot of them. Here it is. This is my first deal. I don't know how well you can see that there, but $500 right there. 500. That was my first deal. I used to have this hanging on the wall. That's on the wall. This isn't the actual check, by the way. I cashed that a long time ago. That was my first check in the business. And funny story, I was going to buy the place. It was a little rundown shack. I call it a rack in a suburb of here, and I mean it was a mess. I'm not going to get into it, but it was bad. And I went in there and I made an offer of $19,500 for the house, and they turned me down. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to bird dog it. So I knew some guys from the REI meetings I'd been going to, and I passed it on to one of them. And he called me the next day. He got it. He paid $14,500 for it. Now they turned me down at $19,000 or whatever, something like that. And they sold it to him for $14,500. Needless to say, though, I got my hands on my first check, and it was exciting. I'll never forget it. I think the first deal is really the one that sets you on your way. So that's what a bird dog does. If you want to find investors to bird dog for, it's not hard to do. As you're driving through the neighborhoods, when you see the signs, we buy houses. When you open the newspaper and you see in the newspaper, we buy houses. Online, let's say you live in Jacksonville. type "sell my house Jacksonville" on Google, pop. You're going to get pages full of investors that would probably love to have you bird dog for them. If none of them want you, contact me. You can bird dog for me, and we'll get you the deal. So anyway, so that's one thing. The next step up is wholesaling, and wholesaling is where a lot of very successful investors stop. It's the end of the line for them. It's all they want to do. It's all they ever do. And there are wholesalers that make 7 figures. Yes, 7. That's million wholesaling. Wholesaling is when it's almost the same. You find the deal just like a bird dog does. But then instead of turning it over to another investor, you get a contract to buy the house. Now when you wholesale a house, just like anything, when you buy something at wholesale, you buy it cheap. A wholesaler negotiates the best price he can on a property, and then he just flips that property to somebody else. When you hear flipping, this is one of the most common. These are all short-term investments that we're talking about right now. But that's what a wholesaler does. Instead of, and he never closes on the house. He never buys it. He just gets a contract to buy it. Once he gets that contract to buy it, instead of, like a bird dog right now would go to other investors and say, hey, here's the information about the house, you finish it, you do the contracts, you do the rest. If you sell it, and bird dogs make usually $500 to $2,000 a sale. Sometimes a little more if it's a real sweet deal, but $500 is pretty much the average. But a wholesaler, instead of turning it over to another investor entirely, the wholesaler goes in there with his own contract and gets his name on the house, gets his name on the contract, and contracts to buy the house. Now there's, again, just like bird dogging, there's no investment, there's no risk when you're wholesaling if you do it properly. So you put your name on the house, you get a contract to buy the house, and then instead of going to other investors saying, do you want this deal? You go to other investors saying, do you want to buy this house? I have a house for sale. Once you have a contract to buy the house, you legally can profit from that contract even before a closing, even before you have title in your name, because legally you own that house when you get your contract. So you'll take that contract, you're going to shop it to other investors. You're going to find an investor that wants that house. Now, instead of that investor doing the rest of the work himself and giving you $500, that investor is going to buy the house from your seller, and whatever you charge, the difference is what you make. So here's a classic example. I had a house not too long ago that I purchased, and I wholesale it. I got a contract to buy it. The house was worth about $175. The house was worth about $175,000. I got a contract to buy it for $60,000. It needed a lot of work. I got a contract to buy it for $60,000, and then I found somebody else to buy it from me for $80,000. And we just assigned the contract. Now, assigning a contract, what that means is he's buying the contract from me. He's buying the paper from me that gives him the right to buy it from the original guy. So again, I never bought it. He, my buyer, bought it from her, my seller. So I got a contract to buy it for $60,000. He was willing to pay $80,000. He ended up buying it from her, but he paid me $20,000 before the closing. We sat down with the attorneys, and I got a nice check for $20,000. Then he went and bought it from her for $60,000. He knew I was making $20,000 on the deal, but I left enough money in there so he didn't care. It was well worth it to him. He put about $40,000 into rehabbing it, so he had about $120,000 into it. And then he sold it for about $175,000 or $180,000. So he really made the big money on the deal. But I made $20,000 for an hour and a half worth of work. Well, maybe 3 hours if you consider I did go to the closing. And it took me 45 minutes to get there and 45 back, but it's not a bad payday at all.